You believe you are a good person. You take pride in being harmless, agreeable, and calm. You think your inability to hurt others is a sign of high morality. But let me tell you the brutal truth. You are not peaceful. You are simply defenseless. There is a massive difference between a warrior who keeps his sword in the sheath and a rabbit who has no claws. You are the rabbit, telling yourself that your weakness is actually kindness. Look at your life closely. You smile when people disrespect you. You say it is fine when your boundaries are crossed. You swallow your words until your throat burns. You act as the perfect employee, the patient partner, the obedient child. But this constant suppression has a price. Because you cannot express darkness outwardly, you turn it inwardly. I know exactly what happens when you are alone. You come home drained, not just tired, but spiritually exhausted. You stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., replaying arguments you never had, imagining violent comebacks you never dared to say. And the worst part? Sometimes this pressure cooker explodes. You snap. You scream at your spouse over a dirty dish. You kick the dog. You have a sudden, terrifying thought of steering your car into oncoming traffic. And then the guilt washes over you. You think, what is wrong with me? I am a monster. You are not a monster. You are a human being who has severed half of their soul. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, called this the shadow. It is the cellar in the house of your mind where you throw every trait you were told was bad. Aggression, greed, lust, power, selfishness. You locked them in the basement to be a good boy or a good girl. But here is the problem with the basement. Things do not die down there. They grow in the dark. They get hungry. And right now, they are banging on the floorboards, demanding to be let out. You have spent your entire life running from your own reflection. Today, we stop running. We are going to open that basement door. To understand why you feel this inner rot, we must dissect the architecture of your personality. Jungian psychology posits that your psyche is split. There is the persona, the mask you wear to face the world. This is the version of you that is polite, civilized, and socially acceptable. Then there is the shadow, the repository of your primitive instincts. Let us analyze the first manifestation of a shadow imbalance, the repressor. The repressor believes that if they can just suffocate their darker impulses enough, those impulses will disappear. This behavior usually stems from childhood conditioning. When you were a child and you screamed in anger, your parents likely told you to stop. When you were greedy with a toy, you were shamed. Your developing brain made a critical association to ensure survival. The brain learned that being good equals safety and being emotional equals abandonment. So, you built a cage. You began to filter every thought before it reached your mouth. You became hypervigilant, but here is the biological reality. Inhibition is an active, metabolically expensive process. Your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, has to constantly send inhibitory signals to your amygdala, the fear and aggression center. Imagine holding a heavy shield up for 20 years without resting your arm. That is what you are doing psychologically. This is why you are chronically tired despite sleeping 8 hours. This is why you suffer from unexplained back pain, jaw tension, or digestive issues. Your body is physically bracing against the force of your own repressed energy. But the repressor inevitably evolves into the second, more toxic type, the projector. This is where the psychology becomes truly fascinating and disturbing. The law of conservation of energy applies to the human psyche. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. The rage you swallow does not evaporate, it seeps out sideways. Since you cannot admit that you are selfish, your mind uses a defense mechanism called psychological projection. Projection is like a movie projector. You take the film reel of your own suppressed darkness and project it onto the screen of other people. Have you ever felt an intense, irrational hatred for someone you barely know? Perhaps a colleague who is slightly too loud or a celebrity who is too arrogant. You despise them. You obsess over how awful they are. Here is the bitter pill. You do not hate them. You hate that they are displaying the very traits you have forbidden in yourself. You hate the arrogant man because you desperately want to feel important, but your shadow calls it humility. You hate the promiscuous woman because you have suppressed your own sexuality. You are not seeing reality. You are seeing a mirror of your own disowned potential. Think of your shadow like a giant inflatable beach ball. You are trying to hold this ball underwater in a swimming pool. As long as you focus all your strength on pushing it down, the surface looks calm. But the moment you get distracted, or tired, or drunk, that ball shoots up with tremendous force, hitting you in the face. This is why the quietest people often have the darkest secrets. This is why the most moralizing preachers are often caught in the most scandalous affairs. This brings us to the third type of person, the only type that truly matters, the integrated individual. This is the twist you did not see coming. You thought the goal of self-improvement was to purify yourself, to bleach your soul white until no dark spots remained. You were wrong. The goal is not to kill the monster, the goal is to learn how to ride it. Jordan Peterson, a modern interpreter of this philosophy, famously said that you should be a monster, and then you should learn how to control it. A harmless man is not a good man. A harmless man is not capable of virtue because he has no other option but to be compliant. He is a victim in waiting. A good man is a dangerous man who has his sword sheathed, but knows exactly how to use it if the dragon comes for his family. This is the secret power of the shadow. The basement where you locked your demons is not just filled with evil, it is filled with the golden shadow. It contains your creativity, your sexual potency, your ambition, and your raw survival instinct. When you cut off your aggression, you also cut off your drive to succeed in a competitive market. When you cut off your selfishness, you lose the ability to negotiate a fair salary or demand respect in a relationship. You become a doormat because you threw away the part of you that knows how to bite. Imagine the most charismatic people you know. They are not saints. They have a glint in their eye. They have an edge. They feel dangerous but safe. That magnetism comes from integration. They have shook hands with their inner darkness. You need to stop striving for perfection and start striving for wholeness. You need to go down into that basement, unchain the beast, and look it in the eye. You need to say, I see you, I accept you, you are part of me. Now work for me. That anger you suppressed? That is not rage. That is the fuel you need to leave a toxic job. That envy you feel? That is not a sin. That is your radar pointing you toward what you truly want to achieve in life. The shadow is not your enemy, it is your battery. Let us return to the metaphor of the house one last time. For years, you have been living in just one room of your mansion, the small, tidy living room of your persona, terrified that something might creep up from below. You have made yourself small to fit into that room. But the house is yours, all of it. The attic of your intellect and the basement of your instincts. It is time to unlock the door. Here is your practical micro step for today. I want you to perform a trigger audit. For the next 24 hours, pay close attention to the people who irritate you the most. When you feel that sudden spike of judgment or annoyance towards someone, stop. Do not focus on them. Turn the camera around. Ask yourself, what trait are they showing that I am not allowing myself to show? Are they being loud and you wish you had a voice? Are they being lazy and you are exhausted from overworking? Find the gold in their dirt. Reclaim that trait. Practice a microdose of it. If you are too nice, practice being slightly disagreeable. If you are too generous, practice a moment of selfishness. You do not need to become a villain. You just need to stop being a victim of your own morality. Integration is the path to true strength. Remember, you are not broken. You are a masterpiece in progress.